Hey, I feel nothing but love for new metal, I really do. I love the fact that we are still experiencing some sort of revival movement, with bands like Silly Goose, Cheem, Bleed, Emerda, as well as a couple of European and South American bands out there, kind of redefining what this musical movement, this cultural movement, if you will, can be and mean for this decade. And some of the bands that I just named haven't even been around for 5 years, so yeah, I think these really are the artists who shape the fourth wave of new metal, I believe is what we're supposed to call it nowadays. But this is not supposed to be like a contemporary history lesson or anything on new metal. If you would like to know more, however, you better hit up the New Metal Agenda, where we write about that kind of stuff on the daily. But today we're doing something different. Today we're going to let some classic new metal musicians participate in the good old Hunger Games simulator. I've actually sort of done this already, about almost 6 years ago now. My buddy and I did a Blink-182 version of this. It's on a different channel though, but I'll put the link in the description. Now let's take a look at the lineup. District 1, we got the Innovators, the Pioneers, Jonathan and Head from Korn. I do realize I also could have went with Monkey, for example, and he's probably my favorite member too, but Head's a funny guy, from what I've seen, with a very interesting story, of course. And Jonathan Davis, come on. I mean, not including him just wouldn't make any sense whatsoever. And the same can be said for the guys in District 2, Chino Moreno and Stephen Carpenter, members of Deftones. Yeah, Stephen, he's a bit of a meme now, for obvious reasons, but his guitar tone, his guitar riffs, I'm sure they influenced more than one wave of bands or even solo artists. Yet he seems to be so, and this is a terrific joke by the way, but he seems so down to earth and chill about all of that. You gotta give him props. I just hope he's in good health. District number 3. Now I know we got like a pattern of frontmen and guitar players going on here, but what else do you want me to do here really? I mean, sure, every member of Limp Bizkit is essential, don't get me wrong. But Fred and Wes, they're just such an iconic duo, aren't they? Like I have to pick these two. Moving on, this one might piss a bunch of people off, but it's a tough dilemma, but I would rather not simulate musicians who passed away. And Emily's doing a great job anyway. I've seen her perform with Linkin Park. I had a great time. Many of the new songs are great. So for me, it seems normal to include her instead of Chester, along with Mike Shinoda, of course. District 5, we got the System of a Down boys. Probably the most well-liked new metal band for people who don't necessarily like the genre. In fact, they're probably to this day still one of the most beloved bands in just all of metal, really. Like, I've never met anyone who claimed to hate System, and I'm not sure if the same can be said for any of these other bands, really. Which doesn't have to mean that they'll automatically perform well here, but we'll see. Number 6, Brandon and Jose of Incubus, because Incubus counts. Of course they do, If you're gonna talk about the history of nu metal, you can't just forget about Science, or even Make Yourself. Those records they're bombs of creative, funky energy. And Science came out in 97, so before the genre was even peaking. Oh, and by the way, the inclusion of Jose means that we finally have a drummer in the simulation. Up next, we gotta include Sevendust for District 7. They're maybe a little more obscure compared to all the other bands I just mentioned, but still, they had, in my opinion, the best set at Woodstock 99. I mean, Limp Bizkit and Korn were iconic, for good and for bad reasons, but the Sevendust performance, it's on YouTube, check it out. The rainbow part is really funny. So we got LeJohn participating, and I also went with Morgan Rose, not only because he seems like the most prolific member apart from LeJohn, but also because he might be just one of my favorite metal drummers ever, actually. He plays with so much funk, so much groove, has a great snare sound. His performance just seems really organic and energetic. It's fantastic. District number 8, straight out of London, Ontario, Canada, Morgan and Mercedes from the legendary Kitty. Another singer-drummer combo, actually. We've got like 3 of those now. Great band. They're still going, just like all these other bands. But moving on, you saw this one coming. Corey Taylor and The Clown from Slipknot. 9 members to choose from is a lot, but I feel like if Slipknot keeps losing members, it's eventually gonna come down to just Corey and Clown being the last 2 remaining members. Eloy is an absolute beast, however. I'm sure Joey Jordison is watching over them. District 10 is a bit of a special one. We got members of Static X, which is Actually, one of the first rock slash metal bands I was ever exposed to as a child because of Need for Speed Underground. I used to play that game all the time. Great soundtrack. Like, that game was my Tony Hawk Pro Skater, you know? But yeah, it's hard to believe Wayne Static himself passed away over 10 years ago now. But the, you know, redemption arc they're doing with Etzel Dope on vocals, that's one for the history books, probably. So yeah, we essentially got our first and only cyborg in the game. Let's go. And as a bass player myself, I had to include Tony Campos because, you know, this man has played in like at least 5 popular industrial metal bands, including Static. District 11. Now, at this point I was kind of struggling to decide who else I wanted to include. I guess most people prefer to call Chevelle hard rock instead of nu metal. I don't really care, I love this band. I want them to participate. I still haven't heard the new album though. Gonna have to listen to that once I'm done. And for the final district, instead of going with, you know, another full band or whatever, I decided to mix it up a little because I feel like I had to include Max Cavalera for his work with Sepultura and Soulfly, even Deftones at one point. And last but not least, perhaps, we got the frontman of a French nu metal band called Playmo. Yeah, some fun lore behind this one too, because somehow this man ended up becoming like a famous modern painter in the US, which is terrific, but he used to sing, rap, and scream for what was, in my opinion, the greatest European nu metal band maybe ever. The Bloodbath. As the tributes stand on their podiums, the horn sounds. Emily Armstrong is the first to run away from the cornucopia. Pete Loeffler, oh shit, we already got a murder on our hands. Pete kills Jose Pasillas with a sickle. Just my luck. Did I mention Incubus is like my favorite? Okay, I'm sorry, we're not even a minute into this game and I'm already biased as hell. But you know what? I expected this to happen. I didn't even have to jinx myself, but of course at least one Incubus member would die instantly. What a joke. Pete from Chevaldo with his first official kill, and he seems like such a nice person too. What happened? What a sickle, this frickin' barbarian. Anyway, so, okay, we got both members of Linkin Park running away. Stefan also runs away, as well as Fred Durst, Tony Campos, Max, all doing the same thing. They're all taken off. Oh, good lord, shit! Okay, this will definitely piss many people off. And they'll all be like, yeah, no, you know what, fuck this video, I'll do my own simulation. Cause I'm thinking at least some of you were rooting for Corey to win, but no. Mercedes from Kitty had something to say about that. And here I was thinking Kitty and Slipknot liked each other, cause I believe they played or maybe even toured together, like way back when they were still very young bands. Chino Moreno takes a handful of throwing knives. He's such a badass. He's like, yo, I'm not running. I want to be able to defend myself. You know, I'm gonna survive this shit. And if you don't like my attitude, try to catch a knife or two. He's like that, you know. Chino. Alright, Sam from Chevelle, Serge, and Morgan work together to get as many supplies as possible. A little teamwork right from the jump, you love to see it. Darren, on the other hand, is also a runner, as well as Morgan from Kitty and Head from Korn. Wes Borland, you know, he kind of strikes me as a pretty smart, a pretty level-headed individual. Fuck yeah. I mean, he's still from Jacksonville, Florida, so he might look a little funky sometimes, you know? Nowadays, he just looks like a handsome father, though. But, what I was trying to say is the way he looks doesn't necessarily correlate to his survival instincts, for example. To be honest, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Mark runs away from the cornucopia. Clown grabs a jar of fishing baits, while LeJohn Witherspoon gets fishing gear. Alright, awesome. Is Clown aware of the fact that Corey is dead? Or is he just like, oh, I'll just go fishing, whatever. Brandon runs away. Please stay alive while doing so. This is not bias, by the way. This is just me looking out for these people. Zero, or should I say Etzel Dope, also runs away. And Jonathan, he's a lucky man. He finds himself a backpack full of camping equipment. Not a bad start for the Prince of Nu Metal. Yeah, I think that's a fitting title. Day 1. Time for day 1. We got Jonathan traveling to higher ground with all of that camping gear on him. He'll be fine. Emily tries to sleep through the entire day. Not the worst decision one could make, I guess. It probably does get quite hectic at night. I don't know, is it already obvious to you that I've never properly read nor seen The Hunger Games? But yeah, Emily will be extra alert at night, hopefully. Oh shit, what's going on here? Clown and Mike Shinoda fight Stephen Carpenter and Pete Loeffler. Clown and Mike Shinoda survive. Ugh. That's a bummer to me, personally. I mean, at least Pete had a kill to his name, but, you know, I just don't think Steph Tone was really able to do anything at all, unfortunately. He was probably just zoning out somewhere, hanging out with Pete until, you know, until they got into this fight and lost, unfortunately. Okay, what the hell? This is overkill. This is overkill. Look, Mark and Darren threaten a double suicide, which fails and they die. Holy shit, these people are dying fast. Because I remember years ago when I did the, like, Blink-182 version of this, I don't think I already had, like, what, 5 people dead by day 1? It's like most of these guys are not even gonna have a chance of doing anything at this point. But we gotta move on. It hurts my soul, but we need to keep the simulation going. So what is this? Tony, Chino, LeJohn, and Serge. Oh, they all raid Fred Durst's camp while he is hunting. You know, this is sort of symbolic, isn't it? Because from what I've come to understand, originally many people's hatred for nu metal was basically fueled by Fred Durst just being everywhere at one point, right? Or just Fred Durst being Fred Durst. So I think it's pretty funny how they all decided to raid Fred's camp. Good thing the Limp Bizkit reappraisal happened this decade, you know? He's not a punching bag anymore. In fact, it's quite the opposite. You should go to a Limp Bizkit show if you haven't. It's an experience. But hey, look, Wes couldn't be bothered by any of that. He's searching for a water source. First he got the food, now he's getting the water. Sam receives fresh food from an unknown sponsor. Yeah, he could use it, I guess. I mean, his brother was just killed, you know, he's going through it probably. Head searches for firewood. Alright, Brian's making moves. Morgan camouflages herself in the bushes. Mercedes poisons Morgan Rose's drink, but mistakes it for her own and dies. No! I can't believe she played herself like that. At least she was able to, she killed Corey, remember? By the way, I was tripping for a moment because, you know, there's 2 Morgans and I thought she was trying to poison her own sister. Max Cavalera fishes. Now, where did he get fishing gear from? Did he steal it from LeJohn or something? Brandon is picking flowers. Of course he's picking flowers. That's such a Brandon thing to do. That's such a granola hippie thing to do. Zero unknowingly eats toxic berries. Wait, does that mean that did he die? Please clarify, game. Is there a hospital nearby? Probably not. Is there any, like, concept of medical help within the simulation? I guess we'll find out soon enough. So that was day 1 and we can already hear 8 cannon shots in the distance. 8 fucking people dead already. Jose, Corey, Stefan, Pete, Mark, Darren, Mercedes, and Zero. Yeah, the berries took him out. So let's take a look at everyone's status real quick. Mike Shinoda already killed 2 people, man. He outlived nu metal once, so I guess he's gonna do it again. And Clown is right there with him, with 2 kills of his own. Mercedes and Pete also managed to each take a life before they met their own demise. Night 1. Well, I guess a true environmentally conscious hippie won't hesitate to protect the trees, so Brandon decides to climb one. You know, I think in the liner notes of one of the first Incubus albums, he's actually referred to as Brandon of the Jungle. So yeah, this is accurate. Maybe after losing Jose so soon, he's just, you know, he's trying to find his inner peace. These guys are all sleeping in shifts. I understand why Mike and Emily trust each other enough, obviously, but it doesn't really seem to bother them that Clown already killed 2 people. Well, Mike did too. Chino is also a tree climber tonight. Sam Loeffler tries to sing himself to sleep. Well, he should realize he's the drummer of Chevelle, not the singer. Morgan Rose questions his sanity. Poor Morgan. Maybe he should stick closer to LeJohn. Because, you know, they obviously have chemistry musically speaking, but I also think, if I'm not mistaken, Seven Dust has always had the same lineup, so, you know, they're like brothers, you know? Jonathan tends to Serge's wounds. Well, I believe Jonathan worked as a, what is the word in English? Well, I know the word, but how do you pronounce it? Coroner's assistant? Before he joined Korn, so I guess it makes sense. Fred screams for help. Now I imagine him with like his signature red cap or any of his other outfits, however you picture Fred Durst in your head in 2025. But I'm just imagining him like in the middle of the forest looking up at the camera like, "Help! Help me!" In all seriousness though, I don't think Fred is like known for his screaming ability. I mean, he's primarily known for other stuff, but he does like this almost iconic, ugly growling thing in so many songs, and he still hits those perfectly to this day, which is definitely impressive. Wes Borland lets Tony Campos into his shelter. With malicious intent, or guess we'll see. I don't know, because Wes just seems so prepared, always, you know? So maybe he's hiding something. But Max does the same thing with Head. Okay, cool.